Hey everyone, welcome to another Musings on episode where we're looking at albums from 1990. Specifically in this episode, looking at some stuff from 1995. So I've been flip-flopping between the start of 1990 and the end of the year and slowly getting to the middle. So only one more episode after this, which will be a 1994 episode, and that should go out in the new year. So I'm going to reflect on what I remember at the time, the musical zeitgeist that was out there, in terms of the general musical zeitgeist, and then I'll try and touch on my own and the way I use that. The yardstick I tend to do for that is to look at what albums came out that year and what I did actually buy the year they came out, which I found is a really good way of orientating myself that way. And then I'll reflect on the albums that I didn't get into at the time and got into a little bit later, and albums that I maybe wanted to get into but didn't have time, or have only got around to recently doing that. And then we'll finish it off with the usual look at what was on at the cinema at the time, because that's a pretty interesting thing to, I think, I find it really useful actually as a way of orientating myself against the music backdrop, to think about films that are out. Also gives a good indicator of how much I was getting out and about, if I was going to the cinema a lot or whether or not I was watching it on VHS at the time. So this is what, from a UK or British music perspective, it looks like from the UK charts in terms of best-selling albums. Now again, I always point this out, but it's worth remembering, of course, some of this stuff could have been overspill from previous years. For whatever reason, it's been in and out of the charts, or it's stayed really high during the interim. You can see the nice thing again with this is there's quite a number of studio albums. Not seeing quite so many compilations as we did, I think, in maybe a couple of times in 95 when I looked at this, where it's been chock-a-block with band compilations, but a little bit better. Also, there was interesting ones. One of my favourite compilations is actually this album, and I want to talk about, and it's one of my favourite Madonna albums actually, because it's got some interesting deep tracks on it and stuff that up till that point maybe wasn't on a particular album, plus a couple of other things as well. So we'll take a look at that and refresh my memory in terms of the track listing and where the tracks come from actually, which is more the bit I have trouble remembering. These Days by Bon Jovi, so this is the 6th studio album they were on by this time. No Need to Argue by the Cranberries, 2nd album. But that came out in 94, so we'll be covering that in when I get to 94, which, like I said, will be the next episode of this. So we've got Dummy by Portishead, also from 94, so I'll save a later episode to talk about that. I Should Coco Supergrass came out in 95. So, there's the Seal album. When did that come out? 94. Wow. That was the 2nd Seal album though, wasn't it? Yeah. And the ever-present Jagged Little Pill. So, looking at it through the sort of lens just generally of, these top 10 albums of the year lens. So, if you look at, these various aggregates of things, what does the Wikipedia article believe to be, the albums that rated highly through greatest hits charts? So we got things like Radiohead, The Bends, Oasis, What's the Story, Morning Glory, Melancholy and Infinite Sadness, Different Class by Pulp, Jagged Little Pill by Alanis Morissette, Bjork Post, which is Bjork's 2nd album, GZA Liquid Swords, Elliott Smith, PJ Harvey, To Bring You My Love, and Pavement, Wowie Zowie. So let's start off with albums I really remember from the time, bought at the time, still favourites of mine. So, March 95, this album came out, Elastica by Elastica. Excellent album. They got into a little bit of trouble because of some of the riffs being taken from, other tracks. So, yeah, run into a little bit of trouble with that. Was it Stranglers and what's the other band? The band that did 154, and it's gone now. Anyway, that band. Yep. Is it going to say on here if I go into connection? Yeah, Wire. That's it. 3 Girl Rumba. That was the one. Yeah, but if you never listened to it, check it out. Nice, short, tight tracks. There's a connection between lots of actually. Yeah, I'll see if I can find it again. There's a really interesting YouTube video about Suede and what was it now? Justine Frischmann was in Suede in the early days. Yeah. So I'll try and remember to include a link to the YouTube video where it talks a lot about the early days of Suede. Although, actually, yeah, I'll do it for this one. I'm thinking about it. I probably would be better off doing it for the episode where I was talking about Suede, but never mind. Better late than never. Sleeper, debut album by them. Louise Wiener, I think that's how you say it. Or Werner. Yeah, great album. It's got In-Betweener on it. Quietly seething indie pop. That's a pretty good description. Demanufactured. So this is the album that's responsible for drawing me back into more of an extreme music fold after being out in the wilderness of, well, it's not really wilderness, being more engaged with indie bands and some electronic stuff and a few other bits and bobs in the early, well, I suppose, yeah, early to mid 90s-ish. And I suppose particularly, I was probably, I think, furthest away from extreme music, maybe, 93 and 94. So not that, it felt like a long time, but it wasn't that long, actually. Yeah, so maybe the tail end of 92 into 93, 94. And then my then team leader, who was also a lead singer in a local thrash stroke groove metal band called Rife, he said, "Oh, have you checked out any bands like Fear Factory or Machine Head?" And I said, "No, I've never really got round to it." Because he knew I was sort of, into, at that point, so 95, I hadn't quite started by, it wasn't until the end of 96, I think I've mentioned in previous episodes, that I bought Terrorizer. But I did have a copy prior to that when it first came out. So I don't know if he'd seen that or we were definitely having discussions about music. And so he clued into the fact that I was pretty interested in, death metal previously, and I'd sort of been keeping an eye on metal generally, but not really kept up to date. And so he said, "Oh yeah, I'll lend you a tape." So yeah, checked this album out, loved it, absolutely adored it, bought it, yeah. And it sort of got me back into, because I listened to it and think, wow, this is so different than what I've been listening to before. It sounded really brutal at the time, like pummeling, I think. Jagged Little Pill, how can we not mention this album? Quite a number of singles all through 95 into 96, and I think I've maybe mentioned this numerous times, but when I worked on, particularly on the helpline, we were working for a period of time with I worked on the showroom helpline, so doing till support and account support for just the showrooms. We had another larger helpline which dealt with customers directly, and what they used to have up in, originally when they were on the top floor, and they moved down and shared a floor with us, but when they were on the top floor they had the radio piped in, because working on that sort of helpline can be quite stressful, and it was just nice having the radio on quietly in the background, just to keep their spirits up. So when they moved down, that carried on, and so we were just listening to sort of chart music all the time in the background. And the amount of this album I heard just from ambiently is it makes me smile. Yeah. And I remember we used to, it's like sing along and the chorus to You Ought to Know. Is that bit where she goes, it's not fair. That one. It's not fair. Because there was a member of staff that we used to speak to regularly, and their catchphrase was not because of this, but their catchphrase became, it's not fair. They always used to say, it's not fair. What's going on? Whatever particular crisis they were having at the showroom at that point. So we'd launch into a rendition of the chorus from You Ought to Know. Garbage. I went to see this band live in the 2010s. Really good. Yeah. Another string of hits. 95. Stupid Girl came out in 96. So did Milk. The album came out in 95. I think. Yeah. This used to hear this on the radio. Only happen when it rains. But interesting lineup as well. Yeah. Butch Vig, Duke Erickson, Steve Marker. Yeah. Three of them at the time were all producers, which is interesting. Yeah. Because Butch Vig producing the diamond selling Nevermind. But yeah, great live. This album, so I'd not listened to Bowie in quite a while, and then I was watching Later with Jules Holland. I might have told this story before in another episode about another album from 1995 where I was doing Joys of Rediscovered Albums or something like that, another series. And I tuned in one night, as I regularly did during the 90s and beyond. And where's the track listing? Let's have a look. Yeah, they were playing Hello Space Boy, and this really heavy version of it. It just sounded amazing, and I really also being completely blown away by the size of the pedal boards, the guitar pedal boards, the effects pedal boards that the two guitarists that were playing on it were using. It's just, yeah, it's like, wow, that's a lot of gear. But yeah, really interesting album to absorb yourself into, because there is a concept behind this. And the other thing, actually, of course, the album comes up when I talk about, I seem to remember it comes up in Brian Eno's book, which I spent a year reading, like his diary. So I think it gets mentioned in there as well. God, that was a long time ago I did that series. Wow. That was all through last year. It's nearly the end of this year. Wow, crikey, time flies. Yeah, so I probably spoke a little bit about the album in several of those episodes. What's the story? Morning Glory. Yeah, this was huge. Did learn Wonderwall. Can't remember when actually. It was a bit after the album came out. Might have been 96. I remember I had a friend putting a band together, and initially I was interested in playing in it, and Wonderwall was one of the songs we agreed to learn when we were all sort of jamming. There was 4 of us, I think, for that first thing. And there were some other people that were going to join anyway. I think some of the members may have been remnants of another band locally, from what I remember. But I got into one of those situations where things really started to pick up at work. I was doing Open University and I just didn't have time to dedicate to learning songs, because that takes me ages to learn stuff. So yeah, I passed on that. But it was really cool, because it was the singer was a friend of mine, Phil, and he is an awesome singer. And it was great when we blasted out Wonderwall in practice. Yeah. So, yeah, good album. I was listening to it the other day actually, in preparation for this. Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. So this is a double album, isn't it? I had the 2 cassette version of this. Yeah, I used to play it in the car a lot while I was driving round. Yep, Tonight. Dawn to Dusk, Twilight to Starlight. Yeah, pretty long album. I mean, that's nearly an hour long. This is definitely an hour long. Be interesting to see how they squeezed it onto vinyl. Oh wow, look at it. 6 discs, crikey. Wondered how they managed that. With all these like special versions. Yeah, the CD was on 2 discs as well. Then we go on to this one. One of my favourite compilation albums. And yeah, it had extra tracks on it that were new. So I Want You, Kestrel version, One More Chance, You'll See, which again, was this a hit? And it was released as a single in the UK. I think we jokingly used to sing along to that as well. Change the lyrics to You'll Pay or something. Yeah. There used to be lots of sing-alongs in the office at that point. Obviously at a level that wouldn't antagonise customers phoning up. But yeah, we used to mix around some of the lyrics a bit. Oh, of course, yeah, done with Massive Attack. So you can see some of these, so theme from Motion Picture with Honours, Take a Bow. So it's all randomly from different albums, Bedtime Stories, True Blue, Like a Virgin remix, Rain from Erotica, Oh Father from Like a Prayer. But yeah, I used to listen to this a lot when I was out walking on the forest. It's one of my forest walking albums. Yeah, that and Madonna's Greatest Hits as well. And also, what was the one previous to Erotica? So the Immaculate Collection, I used to play a lot. And what's the other one with... Oh, see, Like a Prayer. So yeah, Like a Prayer, the Immaculate Collection, and also Something to Remember. I used to play a lot when I was out walking on the forest. 1995. So let's take a look, see what else I can remember. There might be some stuff here that suddenly bounces into my mind and go, yeah, actually, that's a really cool album that I still enjoy. And we see. I did buy this pretty much when it came out. It's a good album. There's lots of riffology on it. In fact, was it Chris Squire? No, John Squire. Chris Squire's from Yes, isn't it? John Squire. Yeah, he was soloing all over this. Yeah. The reviews weren't particularly good at the time in some magazines. But I did enjoy it at the time, but I just haven't listened to it a lot, so I can't say like hand on heart. You know, it's still an album that I listen to today on and off. So what's that? Yeah, I didn't listen to that. I was aware of Thunder. Great Annihilator. Didn't know much about Swans by then, if at all. You know, what number album? 12th album by Saxon. Millennium Fever by Apollo 440. Well, I think I mentioned that already. Had that, what's it called? I ain't talking about dub. Single. CD singles. Fu Manchu Daredevil. Second album. Yeah. There's probably quite a few bands here that I didn't get into until late 90s again. So good examples like this band Pygmalion. Amazing album. Yeah. One of my favourite bands. Favourite album. Very ambient. That's when they sort of got into their real like electronic phase, I suppose. Trying to think of the best way to describe it. Let's see what the review says. Ambient pop electronica. Yeah. Ambient pop dreams. I'd go along with that. So that would be their third studio album. And what I'm doing off screen here is I should have this on in the background. You won't be able to hear it, but again, it's just piping through just my headphones. But lovely album. Again, one to just drift off to, particularly if you're lucky enough to own the 2 CD. Well, you can stream this anyway from Spotify, but there's some really cool demos and instrumentals from the sessions which are on there. So yeah, so I didn't get into slow dive until the 2000s. I wish I'd got into them sooner. It's funny, it was a weird miss there because I was listening to Lush when Spooky came out, so yeah, for some reason I didn't go down the shoegaze rabbit hole. I think probably at that point I wasn't reading the music press that much, so I wasn't really aware of the different trends and genres and movements that were going on. Another Cult of the Unstoppables, Sex Machine, I've mentioned them before. Cataclysm, what album were they on? Not sure. Must be pretty early. Oh yeah, debut album. Belly, Slash's Snake Pit. Now I did see, what they called Slash's Snake? No, it might have been, was it called Slash and the Conspirators? There was a later incarnation which had the guy from Alter Bridge, whose name escapes me. Miles. I saw them, they played Halifax at over by where the what do they call it, where the cruise ships come in. There's a venue, there was well, I don't think it's there anymore. Well, they don't use it as a venue anymore. I think it's now where they move the farmers market to. But yeah, that was a really good live gig actually. Miles Kennedy. That's it, Miles Kennedy. No Protection. That was a remix CD, wasn't it? Yeah. Cheshire Cat, which was debut album by Blink-182. Yeah, I didn't get into them until about the third album. The Wiggles. No, not really my cup of tea. Oh, yeah, so I was listening to this morning. This is a fantastic album. What are those two tracks I really like? Ponderosa. Or is it Black Steel? Oh, now I can't remember. Darn. Anyway, it's got Hell Is Round the Corner on it. Yeah. And it's in 101 albums you must hear before you die. I forgot that. No surprise though. So where do they put it? Yeah, trip hop, experimental, electronic, R&B, post rock, British hip hop. Yeah, that's right. Because one of the tracks particularly has got lots of really cool guitar on it in terms of rhythm work. But yeah, nice intermingling of styles. I mean, Tricky comes out of Massive Attack. So yeah, great album. I need to listen to more Tricky actually, but I have this on CD, but didn't get into it till well after 95 actually. A lot of the stuff here, yeah, probably going to be late to the party stuff. Oh, Delete Yourself by Atari Teenage Riot. I remember them, but didn't listen to them that much. To Bring You My Love by PJ Harvey, okay. Pieces of You by Jewel. These are all albums I sort of recognise but never really listened to. Life by the Cardigans. Sometime in the 2000s, I just decided one week to buy like their back catalogue, having been really into Gran Turismo when it came out, but it was like years after that came out I decided to buy that on CD and then all the albums previous to that. So I have them all on CD, but I didn't listen to them at the time when it came out. Power of Inner Strength, Grip Inc. I wasn't really aware of Grip Inc. until I started putting information together for like a Slayer fan site and discovered that this was Dave Lombardo's side project. They're worth checking out. There's two bands I sort of discovered at that point. There was Grip Inc. and then there was a Dave Mustaine's side project. Is it called M83? Something like that. Anyway, yeah. So, The Bends by Radiohead. I wasn't doing a very good job of keeping up with them after really loving the first album. Yeah. I mentioned Elastica and Smart by Sleeper. Everything Is Wrong by Moby came out that year. Orbus Terrarium, which was the Orb's studio by Orb. So how far in were they by then? Probably quite what? Pomfrets live in 93, UF Orb. That's my favourite album by them. Yeah. But wasn't really keeping up. Oh, do I see a Ned's Atomic Dustbin? I do. Yeah. I have one Ned's Atomic Dustbin album. they're worth checking out. Interesting, they've got some. I don't know if they still had it on this album. I should check actually. Has it got the? They had 2 bass players. Yeah, which is pretty unique at the time. There is I don't know if anybody knows this. There is an old Cure track. I can't remember which one it is, either on the 2nd or 3rd album, which features 2 basses on it. Symbolic by Death. I wasn't really keeping up with them. I think I fell off the Death. Oh, there's individual. Where did I sort of stop buying their stuff? Human. Wow. 91. Yeah, I don't think I can't remember. See, I recognise the cover, but not sure how much I listen to that. Aphex Twin, we've got King for a Day, Fall for a Lifetime. Wasn't keeping up with Faith No More. I had their first 3 albums when I sort of bought the second one when it came out, bought the 3rd one, and then went back and bought the first one on vinyl, I think, because you couldn't get it on cassette, and then didn't really keep up as far as this album. I think I'd bought the previous album, Angel Dust. So I had that, had The Real Thing when it came out, Introduce Yourself around about the time it came out, and We Care a Lot I bought after the fact, around the time, well, between Introduce Yourself and The Real Thing. And I actually have a vinyl copy of that. You've probably seen my episode of My Life in Objects with my 7-inch Woobum singles. So yeah, definitely got a taste for doing some more vinyl stuff. So I'll get around to doing some albums at some point. Heavy is a real heavy thing. Debut album. I have City. Well, I don't have this. Blind Guardian. Didn't become aware of them until a little later. Walk on Water, what were they, 14th. I just was not keeping up with UFO after about... so the album they did with Atomic Tommy was the last album I bought when it came out. But I sort of lost track a bit. Trouble, is that the actual, yeah, doom metal band, Plastic Green Head. No, I was a bit oblivious to a lot of those bands at that point. It wasn't until I think I picked up some doom metal special from Terrorizer where I sort of educated myself as to what I'd missed since probably Sabbath. Yeah, I listened to a lot of Sabbath back in the day, but didn't really bridge over until a lot later into other bands that were heavily influenced. I have this album, but I didn't buy it then, and the reason why I know that is because I have it on CD, and I don't think I was buying CDs till a little bit later. Oh, Destroy, Erase, Improve. Second album by Musing. I think I said in a previous episode I was quite surprised how long they've been going on. Didn't realise they had roots in the early to mid 90s. Orchid by Opeth. Yeah, bought that many years later. Didn't really get into them until the late 90s. This is a really good album. So there's going to be several albums here from the so-called Peaceville 3. So My Dying Bride, Paradise Lost, and oh no, yeah, there was an Anathema album out this year saying that. And yeah, all really good albums by the bands came out that year. This is the third album, and it has Oh, that really good track, The Cry of Mankind, which has this sort of legato riff, just played over and over again, and then the rest of the song sort of floats over that. And it's a really interesting arrangement. It goes on for 12 minutes. Yeah, but I didn't buy it at the time, as I've probably said numerous times. It wasn't until like Gods of the Sun I actually got around to checking them out, and then after that I then started to infill by buying the CDs, and then carried on for a little while in their career. Further Down the Spiral, I may have owned that. Yeah, I think I might have done, but I can't remember what the remixes were like. Remix albums can be a little bit hit and miss sometimes, I find, particularly if you're a bit too attached to the original version. Forbidden by Black Sabbath, yeah, bought that several years later, well into the 2000s, because I think I mentioned that in that CD box set episode of My Life in Objects. Oh, there we go. Draconian Times by Paradise Lost. 5th album by then. Yeah, they were pretty early on out of the 3 bands. Probably had their debut album came out first. So by this time they're 5 albums deep. And their style, as with the other 2 bands, was changing quite a bit. For the good. I mean, it wasn't changing for the worse. It was just a different sound. Jagged Little Pill, which I've already mentioned. Fear Factory, Do Manufacture, I've already mentioned that. Subterranean In Flames EP first, yeah. What was that in there? So Lunar Strain, their debut album. I didn't get into them until quite a while later. But another really good, if you're curious about Swedish like melodic death metal bands, you can't go too wrong with listening to a bit of In Flames. Great melodic riffs they come up with. Exit Planet Dust. I do have this album, but I didn't buy it in '95. But it is a really good album. I think it's got Leave Home and I'm trying to remember the other. It's funny, with them I always have trouble like knowing the names of the tracks. Like if I was to hear one, I couldn't tell you what it is without having the CD in front of me. No, debut Foo Fighters album. Yeah, I didn't buy that till the 2000s. That's another one I think I picked up as a result of reading a Kerrang special on. They were just sort of reviewing different styles of rock that they featured in the magazine, different genres. So there was sort of pop punk, emo, rock, hard rock, heavy metal, classic, other stations in between. Circus Leaves Town by Caius, the 4th and final album. Yeah, completely, really quite sad that I missed out on them first time round. I would have loved to have been into them as the album came out, but later I picked up on their stuff as a result of listening to bands like Fu Manchu and Queens of the Stone Age. Hidden Treasures, that's a Rarities EP. Soundtracks and sort of one-off stuff. Answer That and Stay Fashionable, which is a debut album by AFI. It's well worth going back through if you're an AFI fan and you've not listened to some of the early stuff. It's quite different compared to their later stuff. Worth going down that rabbit hole if it's somewhere you've not been yet. Alternative. They've done so many compilation albums and remixes. I lose track of which ones I've owned or listened to. There's quite a bit of Aphex Twin stuff out at the moment. There's that garbage album I'd mentioned. 8th studio album. So yeah, first studio album in 12 years. So that was after he went down that folky thing, which I assume he's still doing. Mandillion by the Gathering. Where did that come in relationship to How to Measure a Planet? So I had mentioned How to Measure a Planet in another episode. I was a bit late to the party with this band, but yeah, good band, good singer. Yeah. Oh, Ron's Townsend Massacre. Never really checked out Symphony X. The Great Escape by Blurs. Funnily enough, I don't think I own this. My problem was I really detested the track Country House, like the rest of the stuff. And I really loved the previous album. What was it? Park Life? Yeah. So I bought Park Life when it came out in 94, which we'll get onto in the 94 episode, but didn't really keep up with them. This is a really good album. Time is by Goldie. I remember, was it Inner City Live, is it called? Yeah. 21-minute track. Fantastic. Another 2-disc album, and I bought that sometime in the 2000s, so I didn't listen to it a lot of the time, but I remember hearing the track Inner City Life. Obviously, I mean, the single must have been like an edited version of that track, just a part of it. Change of Seasons, where were they by then? So Awake, was that their third album? Yeah, I've got a couple of Dream Theater albums, but neither of them I bought when they came out. Outside, yeah, I mentioned that. Is that the first Rammstein album? Yeah. Didn't really know much about them until they turned up on Triple X, the film, with I'm trying to even remember his name now. Yeah, that actor, that action actor, his name escapes me. Van Diesel, is it? Oh, okay. I didn't realise the debut came out then. Right. 6 Feet Under, wasn't that the 6th album, debut album? But yeah, Chris Barnes from Cannibal Corpse. It's his band. Carnival Bazaar. Now this has Vampire Sun on it and Hopkins Witchfinder General. That's a cool album. Didn't get into Cathedral until a lot later. Another band, it would have been nice to have sort of followed a lot of these UK bands like Cathedral, like My Paradise Lost, like Anathema and My Dying Bride in sort of real time. That would have been really cool. Alongside bands like Carcass as well. So 90s UK metal is really interesting, like the UK bands from that period. I keep meaning because of that to go back through and see actually who else I missed during that time from the UK, because I bet there's some other ones as well. Tragic Kingdom by No Doubt. I didn't own that. It's they're a good band though. It's one band I sort of regret not properly checking out. I had a friend who had this, he used to play it a lot, but I was never really a big fan of Black Grape. Yep, Dracula Scream by Rocket from the Crypt. We used to hear that a lot on the radio, but I didn't buy it. So nothing that I feel compelled to add to my still favourite albums from that year, which is good. It means this album by Brian Eno and Joel Wobble, Spinner. Different Class by Pulp. it's funny, this album, although I went out and bought their previous album pretty much straight away, this one, I don't know why I never bought it till years later. So yeah, that's why it's not up here. Temples of Boom, third album. It was quite doomy, I seem to remember. I'll have to have a listen to that. Alice in Chains, third album. Something to remember I mentioned about that. Gangster's Paradise by Cooley. I remember that track being a big hit on the radio. Sunny Day Real Estate. I'm trying to remember which album I have by this band. It might be that one, but I didn't clue into them until that Kerrang article that I mentioned, where they were covering, at that time what emo was, because emo's changed over the years in terms of the sort of musical composition of the genre. So it's a little bit like metalcore in that respect, as it's sort of evolved over time, as bands have absorbed different styles. Slaughter of the Soul at the Gates. This is a classic, but sadly I didn't listen to it till after the band had originally disbanded. Yeah, so they broke up just after this. The Gallery by Dark Tranquility, second album, another really good melodic death metal band. 90s melodic death metal. Okay. Wow. Was that the first album? Yeah. Right, just a quick scroll through here. So Anathema, who I must have accidentally missed there, or maybe they weren't even on the list. Silent Enigma, second album by the band. It was after, so Vincent Kavanagh singing. Darren White had left and gone off to form, was it Mystica, I think? Oh, The Blood Divine, that's how I get muddled up, The Blood Divine, that was it, not that Blood Divine. Mystica, was that the name of the album? Yeah. So I have Mystica. But Silent Enigma didn't start listening to until the late 90s, sometime in the late 90s, where I sort of bought all of... it would have been after I listened to Judgment by the band, and then just thought, wow, this is great. Why didn't I listen to them before? And then went back and just bought everything, including all these, like EPs as well on CD. So... What's the one with the really stupidly long ambient track at the end? Is that the first album, Serenades? Yeah, Dreaming the Romance. Goes on and on and on. But I really like that track. But Silent Enigma's good. Yeah, slightly sort of opened up the vocal style. Not so guttural and growly, but not as cleaner as the vocals went on to become over time. So it's sort of slowly getting less guttural, less growly. Okay. Oh wow, Balsagoth. A Black Moon Broods Over Lemuria. Never got to listen to them until... When was it? This album? But I didn't buy that in 96. I bought it a lot later. I'd forgotten about that, actually. Carcassonne song came out then. Just got to keep on rotting in the free world. Actually, no, is that wrong? Because we're 95, yeah. I don't know what that's doing there then, because I thought, yeah, I spoke about this in a previous episode, didn't I? Is that wrong somewhere? Yeah, so incorrect. Pretend it's not there. Feralted by Demi Borgia. Yeah, I bought this years later. I was on a bit of a Demi Borgia jag. Destroy the Machines by Earth Crisis. That's their debut album. Okay, so I've never really listened to that. This is the one that I know better. But yeah. There's a Small Deadly Space by Fight. Let me see if I can... yeah. So both of these albums I didn't listen to the 2000s. I wish I'd listened to them a lot earlier. Yeah, so much good 90s metal that I just missed first time around. I suppose the positive side, I just wouldn't have enough money to spend on it. Battles in the North by Immortal. Third album by then. Is that the EP? Yeah. Oh, you can get that with Brave Murder Day then. Wolf Heart by Moonspell. Is that the debut Nevermore album? It is. Because the guitarist from that band, Jeff Loomis, ends up in Arch Enemy, didn't he? For a while. It's currently the Arch Enemy lineup. There we go, I've done a bit of a side hole here. Where's the timeline? There we go. It's my favourite period. So who's currently playing guitar for them? Okay. Okay. So Michael Emmett. So Daniel Erdlison was on Black Earth, that was right. So, yeah, essentially Michael Ammott's band, I suppose. So it's pretty good that, 3 members of the band have been there. Well, 2 since the early days, third one on the third album, Burning Bridges. Yeah, we've gone off on a bit of a side quest here. Let's not do that. Maybe I have to do a separate episode about Arch Enemy. I think I've seen them live twice now, maybe. Oomph. Another new Deutsche Hart band. Rammstein, already mentioned. Rammstein, should I say. Skepticism, Stormcrow Fleet. Yeah, if you like your Funeral Doom, this is a good place to start. I'm partial to a bit of Funeral Doom myself, so. Theatre of Tragedy. A bit of Norwegian Gothic metal. Oh, this came out then. De Profundus. For some reason I thought this came out in 96. Yeah. That's interesting. There we have it. Okay, let's look at some of the films from that year. Oh yeah, of course. Batman Forever. Because the second Seal, that was... Seal did one of the tracks, didn't he? Yeah, GoldenEye. I'm trying to remember if I saw that at the cinema. Probably a lot of these I maybe saw actually on video later. So Batman Forever, GoldenEye, Apollo 13, Braveheart, Die Hard with a Vengeance, Stargate, Dumb and Dumber. I don't know if any of those I actually went to see at the cinema. Might have seen Stargate at the cinema, but I'm not sure. And might have seen Star Trek Generations. But beyond that. So yeah, and of course, sorry I didn't point that out. This is the UK box office, which I also tend to do first. Rob Roy, Brady Bunch, Bad Boys. Wow, was that from back then? It was. 95. Oh, crikey. Batman Forever. He was sleeping. Oh, Crimson Tide. I did see that, but I can't remember where. So US. Compare and contrast here. So we've got the... Let's do this. There we go. Toy Story, Batman Forever, Apollo 13, Ace Ventura, GoldenEye, Jumanji, Casper 7. Wow. So I think most of these I didn't watch until they came out on video, to be honest with you. Let's just have a quick look at the week by week figures. Outbreak. Now that, I got a sneaking suspicion I did see it at the cinema, actually. It gets a bit blurry for me because during this period, quite a few videos I saw with the same friend that I used to go to the cinema with. So that's why I have trouble remembering whether we saw it at the cinema or saw it on the TV. Sounds strange, but yeah, like Congo, I think, was another one with that I just, yeah, don't have a very good recollection. Okay, there we have it. Have you enjoyed that? That was interesting. Yeah, it definitely makes me, when I do that project of going through and just seeing all the UK rock and extreme metal bands that I still have missed, not properly listened to from the 90s. Thanks once again for watching. Bye for now. And I will catch you in a future episode.